Welcome to the UK's first metal detection podcast. It's All Metal Mode UK with your host from across the pond, Mr. Michael Hare.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Hare, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode UK podcast. Yeah, there we go. We got some people coming in, and well, hello, Mr. Sadler. I always say that. Do I always say that wrong, Sadler? How do you say it?
No, that's right, Sadler. That's fine.
Okay.
I thought, is it Mr. Hare?
Yeah, it's like hair on top of your head.
Or all over your face, as the case may be.
Yes, if you got a kick-ass beard like I do. Yeah.
I want that beard.
Won't your wife let you grow one out?
No, I'm growing it back, but it stops at a certain length. I've got, like, baby beard. I can't do man beard.
Oh. This is no kidding, and it's nothing to be proud. I've been able to grow a beard since I was, like, 14. At 16, I had my license, and I used to be able to go get beer. Seriously. Yeah. In high school, I was 6'3".
Wow.
I've always been a big guy. Yeah. Well, that's off the point. That's off the point.
Good evening, Mike. How are you today?
I am good. A little flustered. I've been having some issues, and I went to get everything going. I had early, and I couldn't open Skype. Then I couldn't get it removed from my computer to re-download it. So, it pushed everything behind. It's been kind of a mess. I did have a pretty good Ohio trip. Not many great finds. I found did you see my Flying Eagle penny?
I saw that, yeah. Saw everything that you put on it. Spotted all them. You
people in the UK are probably laughing at me. But it's a cool find for over here. And there were a couple other cool finds. Nothing too special, but nothing like what you guys find over there. But yeah, I had a good time. I went detecting every day except the day I showed up, the day I left, and then that Thursday I took off. I was just beat. I'd walked the fields forever, but it was good to be able to get out as much as I did. I probably put 30 hours on the Amphibio.
Marvelous.
Yeah, I had a lot of good time. Had a lot of fun.
Look at the segue there you've done, Mike.
Yeah, right. I did that on purpose.
What a segue! Did you really? I thought you were just being cool.
No, I'm not cool. Don't ever think I'm cool.
So, talking of the Amphibio, we have our first guest.
Yeah.
And it's a Mr. Kev Marchese. Is that pronounced right?
You got it quite bang on there. You've done all right there, Dave.
Good. Now, for those of you who don't know, Kev Marchese is a bit of a roving reporter for the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, which is my little homestead. And Kev's been doing some work for the past week or so in regards to the Macro Nocta Amphibio. You've been out to David all day, haven't you, Kev?
Yeah, I've done about 3-4 hours today. Got my head round it, and really enjoyed my day out today. It was nice to blow the cobwebs out, and just get down and see if I can find some bits and pieces and enjoy the machine.
And obviously, after unboxing the Amphibio and going out for a few hours, what's your first impression of it with the build quality and such like?
I was anticipating this machine because I went to Detectival and I saw it, and I knew the quality of the build, and I got it back here and unboxed it, and it's built beautifully, really, really well. You could tell it's hard, and it's a quality build machine. It feels great in the hand, balanced really well. I particularly like the arm cup holder because that gives you that support to to detect a lot longer than what you normally would do. So I really enjoyed, getting that all together. Mm-hmm. And it just feels really good, and especially with the stock 11-inch coil, I think definitely the way forward for extra depth. And it just was a really good machine. Feels good. The backlight's nice and bright. And really enjoyed. Was looking forward to getting out in the field with it today, I must admit.
Now, you usually use the Deus,
Yes.
which is the lightest machine around, probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know in regards to the air detector, actually, which is the lightest now. But I know the air detector is very light as well. But the Deus is generally known as the lightest machine around. Yeah. What do you think of the weight difference between that and the Amphibia?
Well, obviously, I mean, it is a little bit heavier because I'm a Deus user, but it didn't put me off at all because because of the balance of it. I really enjoyed it today. 3-4 hours out, and it was fine. It didn't give me no bother at all, really. Obviously, I'm used to the Deus, so it's easy to swing, and it makes me go a bit faster. And I tend to miss a lot of things, but with this today, I found myself slowing my swing down, covering more land, and because of that, I was finding stuff that was much deeper, and then I just really enjoyed taking my time with this machine today. I felt really good. I felt like I wasn't missing anything. What I was doing, let me just tell you what I was actually the settings. I had it on 3-tone, and I put the gain, which in England, well, down at its sensitivity. So I've put it on between 80 and 90. And the discrimination on 1, and I literally just plodded around on that, and there was no buzz, no anything like that, and it was really quiet and really good. And as soon as I got a signal, I knew about it, which was really good. I think I dug a George Penny up at about 9 inches plus deep, and it was absolutely sharp. So then I thought, you know what, I'm comfortable with this setting. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone and see what this machine can do. So I stuck it on deep mode, and it was a little bit beeping everywhere. And so what I've done is I dropped the sensitivity down, which helped a lot. And now the way that I use my Deus is I use it. There's always beeps, and I use it quite so I can hear everything that's under my coil, because then I know that I'm not missing anything. And that's what with the deep mode on this I was using, and it just didn't let me down at all. It's brilliant. You can use it for so many different things and adapt it, and it's such an easy machine to get out the car and put on and go, and to pair it. I've put a video up on the Archaeology magazine, but all you need to do is turn the machine on and switch the headphones on, and it automatically pairs within 2-3 seconds.
Brilliant.
And it's so clear, it feels so comfortable on the ear. The headphones are really well built and sewn together. You can't hear anything. You're in your own little space, and I just really enjoyed today. I think it's a really, really good quality machine, and all the feedback that Nocta and Macro have been given back about their machines, they've obviously taken on board, and they've built this really good machine, in my view.
Excellent. Mike, have you got anything to jump in with?
I was really impressed with what I was doing, and I think it's a little different here than for you guys over there. I hunt like in Ohio. I was hunting field sites where old houses were that have been long gone since before 1900. But what we find here, especially in Ohio, by then they were using iron and nails and stuff. So you'll find a house site because you're just overwhelmed with all the iron. And at first I was really frustrated because I was finding a lot of iron. I was digging holes and all I was finding was iron. And then what I learned is that thing is so sensitive, it'll pick up a nail head at a foot deep with a pile of iron around it. So what I was finding is there was a good target in there, a non-ferrous target, but there was so much iron that it was taking me a while to get it all out of there and stuff. It was super impressive with that. Deep 3-tone ran really stable. I ended up in 3-tone. 2-tone was a little chatty for me with all that iron. I think probably I would suggest over in the UK maybe trying the 2-tone. I'm not sure what your guys' conditions are like, but if you're not in the iron, I would think 2-tone. I know it's a little deeper than the 3-tone, but no, I enjoyed it. I did have some issues. And I contacted Delic and told her what was going on. But I'll tell you, it could still be me, and it could also be my coil, because after I thought about it, I only used one coil, and I went straight to the 7-inch concentric. 11-inch coil is pretty big to be working in that iron. I mean, probably every square foot there's 10 plus nails, and not to mention large chunks of iron and stuff. So they're really hard to work, and you want to work with a smaller coil. But one of the issues I was having is I was getting a lot of overload signals, and I mean overload signals on like brass shotgun shell heads, that were the old paper shotgun shells. The paper's long gone. Some small issues, but it wasn't my coil. Do I have a bad coil? It was my first time using that coil. I don't know yet. It seemed to work great, but I did have some small issues, and we'll see. I've got to get out with it more. I've got to try the other coils and see. But was you having any overload issues, Kevin?
No, I didn't, because the land that we went on, I know the land, and there isn't a lot of iron in there. There is a lot of lead, which is fine, because I don't mind finding lead, because I found lots of lead tokens,
right,
and lots of other lead artifacts, which I don't mind picking up. So it was all right. But because I was in free tone, I knew what the tones were going to be. And also the VDI screen was telling me what I needed to see. So basically, on the video that I've done, everything from 60 to 75 that I dug today was actually a coin.
Nice.
And the signal was was really crisp and sharp. So I know that it's something small, and it goes ding ding. Whereas, like I said, because I've been in three tones, I know that if I go across iron, it's going to be that dual sound. But because it's so good at the recovery, if there is something next to it, then I'm okay. But the issue I think you've probably got is you may have lots of iron quite close to the surface. It's going to overload it. That's the problem. Now, I'm not, like I said, I've only had a few hours with it. I don't know 100% about it as yet, but there must be a way where it can't do that, Maybe speak to Dilek about it. But either way, there must be a way around it, surely, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was doing some really amazing stuff, I felt like, but then I was having some small issues. And, here's the thing, here's my thought on it. They are such a good company. If there is an issue on their end, they're going to fix it. It'll get fixed and it'll be back out. They'll give us an update. And, but I am not certain that's what it is. I'm not convinced that's what it is. I'm concerned maybe my coil or it was super wet. I mean everywhere you went.
So you've got the conductivity there, haven't you? Yeah. Yes. So that's going to pick up because it's wet. It's going to get even deeper. So it will overload maybe a bit quicker than normal.
Yeah. So the conditions, I've got to get it out here. I'm back in Texas now, and I'll get it out here real soon and get some more time on it and see what's going on. But yeah, absolutely.
So Kev, if you had to pick one standout feature on the Amphibia, what would it be?
I think possibly the whole balance. I just generally think the whole thing about it's really, really well balanced. And I've held all the machines, and it's perfect. It's so balanced that it swings really well. And I can only say that's the standout thing. And I also think that the backlight's really good as well. I know, but I can't pick one thing because I love the headphones as well, and I love the way that it doesn't chatter in tone three tones. It's quite a lot for me to like, but I think probably the whole balance and the whole ergonomics of it all for me is the key, is the winner for me.
So as a Deus user, would you put the Deus down and keep the Amphibia?
Oh, I think if you look at my video, I think I really would. And the thing is, I was excited before I even got this because my path is I used the Garrett 250 like most people do. Then I went to the Macro Racer, then the Deus. So I knew what I was getting, because I know the capabilities of these two companies getting together. I knew something was going to be really, really good, and they do listen to the customers, because I had a problem with my coil, my racer, and I had a personal person I could speak to on WhatsApp, and it got sorted within 3 days. I'm not being funny. I mean, that sort of service, for me, it would always win for me to get a detector, because if I have a problem, it's going to get sorted, and that's going to be a winner for me. So for me, I mean, I've had the Deus now for 3 years, but I would put it down for this. I really would. I'm sorry to say, but I would.
And for those of you interested in Kev's video, that's about to be uploaded onto the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine YouTube channel. It is currently on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine Facebook page, and also the All Metal Mode UK page. So if you want to pop over and, well, obviously not now because you're listening to the show, but in the near future, if you'd like to pop over and see that, that's there for your enjoyment.
Real quick, I want to add, you asked him his favorite feature. I'll tell you my favorite feature. I do have a single favorite feature, and that's the ability to turn down to turn the volume down or off on the different segments, the different VDI groupings. When I was in Ohio, I told you about all the iron. I want to hear it because I want to know what's in the ground and how fast, you change your sweep speed for how much stuff's in the ground and stuff. So I wanted to hear it, but I don't want to sit there and listen to all that iron at full blast.
It would drive you mad, wouldn't it, in the end, really, to be honest with you?
and I don't care what detector you're using. When you start disking out and notching out targets and stuff, you're slowing the processor down. And I think it's brilliant that you can take, I turned it to 1, and my iron is now it's in the background. I can hear it. I mean, it's a audible sound, but it's not loud in my ears. And then the non-ferrous targets are really sticking out to me. So that, to me, excellent, being that I work in the iron, is where that's at for me.
Brilliant. Do you think that doing that, do you think you're losing depth or not? Or do you think it's literally you've mastered the way that you're for that specific area of lands? Do you think?
You mean by changing the volume on the iron?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it affects depth. I mean, I think it's just the detector's just saying, okay, he doesn't want to hear the iron, and it turns it down. I mean, it's still processing it. You're just not having to hear it, or you can listen to it at a low volume. And no, I don't know. Depth is incredible on this detector.
It is, it really is. I picked up a musket ball at about 9 inches down, and it was so clear. You wouldn't have walked over it. You would have dug it. And what I was doing is I was trying little scrappy signals. And what Gary Blackwell, one of his quotes that I'll never forget is, "Your biggest discriminator is your spade." So if you get a dodgy signal and you're not sure, you take the first inch off, and that cleans it up. And I've done that the whole of my career of detecting, really. And it's worked every single time for me. And I think if I do this with this machine, it's just going to be a complete winner, to be fair, for me.
Yeah, it's so far I'm really impressed. Although I did run across a few small issues, that could totally still be me. It's going to take time to learn it.
Can I just butt in and stop the loving now? Because you're all getting you're both getting too excited now.
Don't get jealous. Yeah,
you're both getting a little bit excited. As so making the light too long here. We've got a guest to come.
Dear. Okay, let's.
Well, obviously, we appreciate the call, Kev. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about what Kev's been doing, as I say, there's an article that we published a couple of nights ago about his unboxing. So there's all the features and such like discussed on that. And the video, I'm just waiting for it to download, and then I can upload it onto the Archaeology and Metal Detecting Magazine YouTube channel.
Awesome. Hey, Dave, I apologize. I'm going to have to go grab my son, keep the show going. I will be back in a minute, and I will be listening in, but that's probably all I'll be able to do. Everybody, I apologize. Steph had to work today. The rest probably of the year is clear now. Just some unordinary circumstances have come up recently, but we should be back. Well, we will be back to normal next Thursday. You're in good hands with Dave, of course. He'll nail it, obviously, but I'm going to have to step out.
No problem. Anyway, thanks, Kev.
Thanks, Kev.
And our little segue continues, being that the Macro Nocta Amphibio is one of the machines which is currently being supplied by Leisure Promotions. And tonight our guest is Pete Turrell, lead figure and person who is known best as the head honcho at Leisure Promotions. So good evening, Pete.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
That was an absolute dire introduction, and I do apologise.
Oh, I don't mind head honcho. I can deal with that. I've been
Head
called
honcho.
worse.
So first and foremost tonight, I'd just like to tell the listeners that thanks to yourself, Pete, you've kindly donated £100 worth of LP vouchers, which will be put in a competition tonight, a random name generator, for the UK and for US listeners. Now, all you have to do is simply, to enter the competition, is go on to the... Now, let me just get this right. I might not be right. Am I putting it, and I'm sure Luke is listening, am I putting this on the UK Podcast Facebook group or on the chat room of the All Metal Mode UK? But when I get that information back, I'll tell you straight away. All you have to do is put hashtag LP and your name. And a random number generator will be conducted by Luke a bit later on. And obviously the winner will be contacted with Pete. And away we go. So, good evening, Pete.
Hello again, Dave. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm tired. I've had a massively rushed evening from getting home to work to going for parents' evening and finally getting back home, etc., etc. So, yeah, busy day.
My day's been quite similar today as well. So I know how it is today. That's fine.
And Mike's is as well. I think we're all having it.
It must be a Thursday thing.
Yes, it is. Generally on a Thursday, that goes quite smoothly, though. So, I mean, I know we had problems at the start getting the Skype to set up properly, but away we are, and here we go. So, Pete, tell me, or tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as you introduced, I'm the director of Leisure Promotions, LP Metal Detecting. We've got a showroom, phone line, website. We're based in between Newbury in Berkshire and Basingstoke in Hampshire, about halfway between the two. Myself, I took over what is a family business about 4 years ago now. After college, I went off and made my own way in the world. And I've always detected. And then, got involved with the family business and kind of here I am.
So how long has... I'm actually bumping forward to questions because we're talking about it. I'll bump to questions that I put for later on. How long has Leisure Promotions actually been trading?
So my parents started it 1985. So what we're now, 33 years, getting on 34 years now.
You have to have a 40th party, I think.
Yeah, you're invited, Dave. You can bring a bottle.
I'll bring the bottle of Polish vodka.
There you go. Perfect. I don't know. After Detectable, I've had enough of that. So 1985, it was started by my parents, and 33 years now.
Now, obviously, I'm because I'm so busy looking everywhere at information all the time that's coming to me. I didn't know that, and fair dues. That's an achievement within itself. Obviously, there are other companies in the UK and similar that they've been trading for a similar amount of time. But I also know there's a lot that pop up now and again and claim to be the bee's knees, and then a couple of years later they disappear. So kudos to the family for that. And
do you know what, Dave? I mean, just talking about the other dealers, the great thing that we've got in the UK is that there isn't... Well, most of the dealers are family owned. So if you think... Nigel at Regton, his dad started the company. Laura and Nick down Detecnics. Now Luke, their son, is involved in the business. Obviously me at LP. So we're starting to see the second generations now coming through to these businesses. And I think that's something to be really proud of in the UK, that we have got these family businesses, and we all detect. So it's not like a faceless organisation. We are family businesses, and that's not just LP, that's across the whole industry.
I can totally agree with you there. I mean, Detectable was the first time I've personally been involved in anything like that, and yeah, everybody knew each other. I spotted yourself talking to Detechnix and Nigel at Regden's. And as I said, I've personally stated. In fact, it appeared on the video, the Knocked Macro video from after the event. How much I was surprised how big a community it was. And obviously, that just doesn't stem at Detectable. That's entirely of what I've seen thereafter and before.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm in competition with Regton and Detechnix and others, but we all converse with each other. We all go to conferences together, and we all get on and we'll have a drink. And we do have that personal connection where we can talk about things outside of work. It's not cutthroat. Obviously, we all want to get the sell, if you like. But no, we all get generally on pretty well most of the time.
Sorry, I'm just going to have to butt in and say, yes, the competition with hashtag LP and your name is on the live chat of Spreaker and not on Facebook. I got confused by a message I got. I didn't read it correctly, but that's that. So, Pete, you said you've been detective for a long time. Any idea how long?
Technically, as soon as I could walk, I had a detector in my hand. But I was given my first detector, my own personal one, Christmas when I was 7 years old. Now, looking back on it, at the time I was really excited, but now looking back on it, my dad basically gave me a product from his shop that probably didn't cost him much, but the thought was there. So yeah, 7 years old. So I'm 38 now, so 31 years I've detected technically.
I'm actually not happy here tonight. All these, I mean, before the show we were talking, and all these people who are younger than me. It's, I actually thought I was younger, and I'm not, am I?
No, you're the grandfather of the podcast this evening.
Can I be the godfather as opposed to?
No, that's fine.
So in that time, what machines have you personally? Obviously, you do use a lot of machines, but what have your personal machines been in that time?
God, do you know what, Dave? There's been so many. So my first machine was my Viking 1, which I loved because I was a kid and it was brilliant. But over the years, I mean, obviously machines come and go, but back in the early days, things like the C-Scope 770, which is a little strange straight-handled machine with a meter on the front. Then I went through the whole Tesoro laser range, so Silver Sabres, Gold Sabres, Rapiers, Hawkeye. I've done the Mine Lab routes at XS, Explorer SE, SE Pro, Xterra 70. I'm just trying to think all the machines that I've used. XP Goldmax, Deus, Garrett GTI, 80 Pro. And then coming up more modern day, I suppose, Deep Tech Vista Gold, Vista Smart, and then, of course, the Nocta Macro Racer, Racer 2, Cruiser, Amphibio. And luckily, I get to use the Invenio as well from time to time. So,
oh, I'm so jealous. I am so jealous. I spoke to, when we had DLAC on, I do dabble in archaeology. I've not been able to for a while, but that to me would be a dream machine to use on any site. Looking beyond artifacts as in metal detecting, there's so much more I think you could do with that.
Oh, totally, Dave. And do you know what? In the last probably 10 years, so I think there was quite a leap when the Deus came out, getting on for 10 years ago now, when suddenly there was this machine that was wireless and lightweight. I mean, it was completely different to anything that we'd had before. I think the Invenio and the technology that's in that is something to be really excited about. I'd
just like to spend an hour with somebody obviously who knows who's using it, because I think the system itself would be pretty difficult to get to grips with, maybe?
It isn't. It isn't. The great thing about what Nocta have done with the Invenio is anyone can go on Nocta's YouTube channel, and there's probably 20 training videos that Mehmet, one of their head designers there, have put together. Mm-hmm. And they are so good. It is a very in-depth machine, and to get the most out of it, you need to know it. But it is one of those machines. If you want to take the time to teach yourself, you can absolutely do it.
I want one. I can't afford one, but I want one. You might want to sit on the fence for this one, but putting you on the spot, what is your favourite machine ever?
So if I go back to early days, I love my C-Scope 770 because I have great memories of that machine because I was super young when I had it, and I had all that early enthusiasm where digging up a horseshoe was like I dug up the crown jewels. So I've got great memories of that machine. But I suppose moving on from that, machines like the Tesoro Silver Sabre, again, I was at the sort of age where I couldn't carry around a big heavy machine like the Arados, that sort of machine. So for me, that was a great machine that performed really, really well, but I could actually use. So Silver Sabre, I loved it. The Explorer, difficult to say which one. The SE was a good machine, got on really well with the SE. Mm-hmm. I mean, coming up to modern day, the three machines that I personally use more than anything else, Amphibio now was the cruiser, but Amphibio, Deus, and CTX. They're kind of my three go-to machines in modern day.
So which one of the three?
It's a difficult one because, as you all know, if there was only one machine that suited everyone, it would be great for me. I'd only have to stop one machine. But all those machines have a different place. So I use CTX if I've got very deep pasture. CTX is brilliant for that. Deus, if I'm on a quick hunt, it's super lightweight. It can fold up in the back of my car. I could just pull it out and away you go. And the thing I love about the Deus as well is it's so easy. If I get quite busy, so I don't get to detect as much as I'd like. So the great thing about the Deus is you can literally pull it out the back of your car, having not used it for a few months, switch it on and away you go. Mm-hmm. But the Amphibio, and I'm not going to make this a big Nocta macro loving with what Mike Saray said and Kevin, but I love the Amphibio. It ticks so many boxes, but I think you've said everything that needs to be said on that tonight.
Hey, at the same time, Pete, you know it's your show. You're a tradesperson, so you know whatever. If you want to talk about something that could potentially sell to people, then please feel free.
Do you know what, Dave? What I don't want to do is sit here and say this machine is the best thing since sliced bread, because not one machine does all of that, and that's why. Not just every manufacturer has got machines, but every manufacturer has 5 or 6 different models. Yeah. Because one machine doesn't suit everyone. And our number one question that we get when people phone up, they're just getting to the hobby, what's the best machine you stock? Yeah. We truthfully can't answer that, because what's best for one person isn't necessarily what's best for someone else. Yeah. And that's why we love being independent. So we don't just sell one brand, we sell many. So we can make suggestions, but it is really down to personal preference. Not so much what goes, our second biggest question, well, probably the first question people ask, how deep will it go? Mm-hmm. And again, a machine doesn't have to go deep to be a very good machine, necessarily. It helps, but it's not necessary. It's what suits you best. So I don't want to answer that question, because I don't think it's fair to say one machine's better than any other, because I just don't think it's the case. Some machines...
I'm sorry. I'd like to jump in really quick. I agree with you completely. And what might work great for me might not work great for you and your conditions. And I mean, I think every manufacturer makes a really good detector, or a couple good detectors, and that's really hard to answer, isn't it? I mean, It's what suits you and what works for your conditions and stuff. I agree. I have my favorites, but they're all good. I mean, they all have their advantages and disadvantages. You're right. There's no one perfect tool.
I mean, how many times do you see someone that's bought a Garrett Ace 250 and goes out on their first trip out and makes an amazing discovery?
Right.
I mean, how often does that happen? And that's not because the Ace 250 punches as deep as a CTX, for example, but I use this phrase a lot in the showroom, and that's, do you know what? If there's nothing in that field, it doesn't matter if you've got a Maplin £20 special or a CTX 3030. If it's not there, you're not going to find it. So, yeah, every machine has its pros and cons, but, yeah, one size doesn't fit all.
Exactly.
I mean, personally, I currently use a Minelab E-Track. Now, one of my friends who's listening to the show tonight, Dave Clark, he's tried multiple times to get me to grips with it. And as Mike knows, I'm not technologically minded in the sense of in the coming weeks, we've got a guy coming on who's discussing the Rutus, and I'll be taking a back seat because I wouldn't have a clue about technology. I also have a Rutus Alta 71, which is, for me, a lot simpler in its use than the E-Track. But I've got to say, everything I've used personally, the Xterra 705 was the best for me. So yeah, I can appreciate all the different. Everyone's different. Everybody has a different favorite. Everybody has a different use, and yeah, totally agree.
Well, it's nice that we agree, Dave.
It'd be nice to disagree, but yeah, you're right. So you've been detecting for a number of years. Tell us about the variety of some of the finds that you've personally discovered.
Well, I suppose anyone that's detected for a length of time will know that over that length of time, you'll go find a bit of everything. So you're going to find Roman, medieval, your modern junk. So yeah, I've had a bit of everything, to be honest. But that's just the amount of time that I've put into it. I've had a lot of rubbish as well, ring pulls and musket balls. I'd hate to think how many holes I've dug. But I mean, really, I think I've had a bit of everything. I don't think there's anything. All right, there's a few things on my wish list, I suppose, but there's nothing, no time period that I haven't been lucky enough to find, I suppose.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So what would your personal favourite find that you've had yourself? Obviously, there's been a lot. There's a lot of years. There's a lot of time scale. What's your personal favourite?
So, I mean, just to generalise, finding coins are great, obviously. But for me, I love finding artefacts. So things like brooches, especially brooches, actually. They're a personable item, rings as well. I think they carry more personal touch to it. So when you dig something like that up, you think, well, the person that lost this, they didn't just have a hole in their pocket and one of their Roman coins fell out. This was a personal item that they wore every day and really treasured. So yeah, that sort of artifact is kind of what still gives me the buzz.
Do you know, we had a guest on a couple of weeks ago called Dean Stainton, and he actually creates in his own mind, and probably goes back home and tells the kids, if I remember, a story for everything he finds. Even if it's a piece of junk, he'll have a story for it. And I find that brilliant. And you know, going out with kids to teach them about the hobby, and to modern day, as we know in society, imagination with kids isn't as good as what it was because we're in the technological age. I still can't say that word tonight with all the YouTube and what have you. But to actually get a kid hooked on something like that and start making things up about how that artifact was found, that's something we should all do who have got kids and able to do that.
Yeah.
So when you've been out on site with, and I know you attend a hell of a lot of events. Luke's bumped into you numerous times in events down south.
Yeah.
What would be the best find you've seen witnessed by another detectorist?
Okay, so I mean, as you say, I'm really fortunate that I get to go to a lot of club digs and see lots of amazing things found, not always by myself, but by other people. And I mean, God, over the years, what have I seen? A stunning hoard of Roman gold torques was a cracking find. A Civil War coin hoard. I mean, a colossal great hoard, and that was unbelievable. Saxon graves. I mean, Roman silver hoards. Some of the gear that detectorists find in the UK is just, it blows my mind that this is all out there waiting to be discovered. I've seen some really cool stuff.
Wow. It's something else when, you're actually there physically to witness something, like the gold hoard that you witnessed. That's something, not just a dream for the finder, but to actually be privy for something like that. I think that's a lot of people's dreams.
Oh, totally.
Now, what people don't realise about leisure promotions, it's not just a trade shop. It also does a hell of a lot more. Can you tell us about what else LP does regarding metal detecting?
Yeah, sure. Well, it is only metal detecting, Dave. We don't do any other services or anything. So
no, I meant
I know. I know. Yeah. So, I mean, this was my dad's thing way back when we started the business. So he started selling metal detectors, and I'm sure the listeners can relate to this, that it's very easy to go and buy a metal detector, but it's very hard to find somewhere that you can use it. That's kind of the hardest part of the hobby. So every year he put on the Newbury Rally. Now, some of your listeners may be old enough to remember these. So they were back in the late 80s, early 90s. And they were colossal. I mean, as many as 2,000 detectorists converging. So detectables big, 1,000 to 1,500, that sort of range. I mean, this was 2,000 people. And back then, this sort of dig wasn't something that happened. So over in the States, you had a few token hunts. But that was kind of the closest that we got to it. So these things were huge. And he used to do that once a year. And then my parents got together and thought, well, what about the rest of the year? So they started what was called the Sunday Club. Now, these days, you go on Facebook and you'll find a plethora of clubs that you can go out on digging with at the weekend. But back then, this was something that just didn't happen. So the Sunday Club was born, where every fortnight, Mum, Dad would go and arrange a site for our customers to come along to. And that's something that's continued all the way up to now. So we're out next weekend. So you buy a machine from us, you become part of the LP club, you get your membership card, and then we invite you along to all of our club digs. Where you can meet up with other customers, chat about whatever you like to chat about, and build that social side to the hobby as well. Because I know some people like going detecting on their own for the peace and quiet, but just meeting up with some fellow detectorists, sharing your finds, your stories, and just having a really good day out detecting. So that's something that we've always continued, and has kind of been a real cornerstone of the business, and something that hopefully continues for a lot longer as well.
Fantastic. So in your 4 years where you've actually been a major part of the company, has your philosophy altered in any way regarding the hobby itself?
Well, I get less time to detect. That's the first thing. But not so much, if I'm being honest, Dave. I think I've always been involved with the business. So although I've not been working on it 7 days a week, what feels like 24 hours a day, I've always been there or thereabouts. So I've always been involved. And I suppose now I get a deeper understanding of how everything works. So, I was with Luke at an NCMD meeting a few weeks ago, so I get to experience what's going on at the NCMD. Because we're the importer for Nocta Macro, I've been over to Istanbul and seen the factory, and I get to test machines for them and do all that sort of stuff. So for me, I get to see all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes to so with Noctamacro, for example, all the hard work that goes into getting this working model in your hand in the field, making these discoveries for you, that blows my mind, the amount of people that work on that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the NCMD, the work that they do behind the scenes, that personally I think they should be shouting about, which they don't so much, but the work that they do to actually maintain the hobby as a legal thing in the UK. So I don't think my philosophy's changed, but I think my understanding of the hobby's changed a lot. Rather than just going out the weekend doing a bit of detecting, I get to see a bit more to what's going on, I suppose.
I'm glad you mentioned the NCMD. That's something that myself and Luke, we have tried to explain to people a lot more about what it's about. It's not just an insurance company. It's something that does so much for us behind the scenes, as you've just said. And yeah, he said you were there the other week at the event and at the meeting. And again, it's something that people who are members don't see what goes on behind the scenes. And I'm excited to actually be working alongside them. I'll say alongside them, not so much alongside them, but being able to do what we're doing at the moment with MCMD. It does excite me because I'm actually seeing things myself as you are. Not so much yet, maybe, but I'm seeing a hell of a lot of things that I wouldn't have really noticed in the past.
Yeah, totally. And like I said, I think NCMD, it would be great if they just told everyone some of the stuff that they could do. Now, some of it's confidential and it can't be shared. But, I mean, they do work damn hard to make sure that the hobby that we have in the UK maintains its status as a hobby in the UK. I mean, you think how many countries around the world where you physically cannot detect. Because of things like the Portable Antiquities Scheme, the Treasure Act, which I know is a sore subject on some social media. I get, not in arguments, but I get in discussions with people about the Treasure Act and that sort of thing on social media. If it wasn't for these things that the NCMD fight for behind the scenes, we'd be like another Cyprus or France I mean, there's so many countries where you physically cannot detect. Now it feels like an NCMD loving, but they do work damn hard.
It should be an NCMD loving for everything they do, but not only that. For people who don't take all that into account, the insurance, it is an issue. People do need to register the NCMD, if for nothing else, if they're not interested in anything else, to support the NCMD for what they do and, for the insurance.
It's
people do need
to. Dave.
I know it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. But people, in my eyes, we're talking, 11,000 members, something like that in the NCMD. There are a hell of a lot more metal detectorists in the UK than 11,000 people. So the ones who aren't members really, really do need to consider it. £8 a year is nothing.
2p a day. I've just worked it out.
Do you know, I didn't even. I was going to think about doing it, but I'm too tired, so I stopped.
I did use a calculator, but yeah, 2p a day. And if you think, even if you go out and buy Garrett Ace 250, 185 quid, £8 for a year, I'd think, I'd recommend it all day long.
Absolutely. So what do you think the current climate in the UK metal detecting is like at the moment?
I think there's challenges in the hobby, some of which I've just touched on, that NCMD work on. But I think our hobby in the UK is something to be really, really proud of. And I'll tell you for why. There's so many industries in the world, and I can draw on personal experience of this because I've worked in this business for 4 years. Before that, I've worked for other big businesses. And what's great about the UK detecting hobby is it feels like we're one big family. And that's so good to see that when you're on a club dig, everyone's got this camaraderie and everyone's having a really great time. Yes, there's challenges, but I think working together as a group of people, we've got a really big voice. and I think the hobby is awesome. So,
Hey, I'm
go on.
sorry. Go
on,
ahead.
Go on, Mike. Go on.
My son's still in here. I apologize, but I've got some questions, and it's a little off track, if that's okay. It's
For it.
more about the business side of it. I'm curious, what are some of your biggest sellers? What's your hottest?
Okay.
What moves like the best?
In quantity, it would always be Garrett Ace range.
Okay.
In terms of boxes going out the door, Garrett Ace. But we sell a lot, especially coming up to what's our peak period now, coming up to Christmas. So we get through quite a lot of those. I suppose high end, Deus, Equinox, Amphibio would be the three at the minute that we sell in quantity. Would be our top sellers.
Now, what do you think about the latest news from Tesoro? Does that affect you guys, and what's your thoughts on that?
Do you know what? I'm sad to see what's happened to Laser Tesoro. I was talking to someone about this earlier on today. So, again, touching on one of our Newbury rallies, we've got a video of one of them from 1989. I think me and Marcus from Regton worked out it was. And when you see these 2,000 people start and at the beginning of this rally, and they're all holding their machines to the air, they are almost exclusively round Tesoro polo coils. Tesoro had the market all those years ago. Everyone used Tesoro. And I don't know what happened. They kind of just, I don't know if they rested on their laurels, just didn't keep up with times. I just don't know. But it's sad to see a manufacturer that was so loved in the hobby to close their factory. It's really sad.
Yeah, over here the feeling is they haven't kept up with the times. And you got to agree with that to some extent. I mean, most of their single tone detectors and no VDI and stuff. But I think where people, where they have put the Tesoro down or they've discarded it and, they don't take them serious is I will still take a Tesoro and put it up against any detector out on the market and the heavy iron. There's something about analog technology that just works through that iron better than all of these digital detectors. I can take my my Outlaw that was $550 with 3 coils, 3 shafts, and I would put it up against any detector in that heavy iron, and I will dig less iron. It's deep. It's it's a very simple detector, but I on one hand I agree that they haven't kept up with the times, but I see so many of these relic hunters here in the United States who are using these really technical detectors that aren't doing as good as the Tesoros can do in that stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. And do you know the other thing, Mike? I think a lot of people that have detected for 20 years, they might be swinging an Equinox or a Deus or an Amphibio now. If they owned a Tesoro, the chances are it's still in their garage. I bet they didn't sell it because they loved it, and it's a very capable machine.
Mm-hmm. I find people that have been in the hobby here anyhow for a long time, they not only do they still have their Tesoro, they go back to it. I mean, I know a guy who's got an Equinox, he's got a Max, he's got but he still has this Tesoro, and it still often goes out with him and gets used. And like I said, I know a lot of field hunters here, especially the guys that have been around a long time, who still use Tesoros. And so in that aspect, I hate to, I do feel like they've fallen behind, but I think also people have jumped ship for the newer, greater, sleeker, more options when they really didn't need all that. Now, I will say, and I'm not putting down any other detector or anything, any of the other brands, and I don't want to go on my little thing, but honestly, until macro Nocta macro, I have not found a machine that'll work in that iron and stuff like a Tesoro. And there's still times where I mean, to me, I still run my Tesoro over those spots. It'll still hit stuff, and but so I don't know. I think it's sad. And now, do you know any more than like we would? Like, is Tesoro definitely going out of business?
I don't know any more than you do, Mike, in all honesty.
Okay.
No, I really don't know. And that's not being secretive. I just don't know.
Okay. I got one. I'm going to put you on the spot. And if you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. I would totally understand. But out of curiosity, is there a manufacturer that you like dealing with the most? They're the best to deal with?
So this is a really easy one for me to answer, ish.
Okay.
So the way the UK market works is, so we import and distribute Nocta Macro, Deep Tech and Quest. And then, for example, Regton import XP and Garrett, Crawford's, Minelab, so on. So the manufacturers that I personally deal with is the guys at Nocta Macro, the guys at Deep Tech, and the guys at Quest.
Okay.
And they're all great. And that's not me just saying it because I don't want them to take our dealership away. They are genuinely nice people. And at these events that we go to, Detector World, Detectival, we all meet up and we all get on fine. Not just on a professional level either, which is great.
That's good. Yeah, that's awesome. What's business like these days? Like, can you go back, I don't know, a few years and look at now? I mean, is I feel like in the last, I feel like it's growing. Have you seen?
Totally. Yeah,
just
100%.
every year, it's just going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see year-on-year growth without giving figures or numbers because I can't do that. But
right.
To give an idea, this time, as we sit here now, we've sold as many units as we did the whole of last year. So that's the kind of year-on-year growth that we're seeing in the UK market. And I think a lot of that, Mike, is that, I mean, I've been around the hobby for quite a while now. Back in the early days, in the 70s, 80s, detecting was kind of one of those anorak hobbies where if you were down the pub with a few of your mates that didn't detect, you wouldn't stand there and sing the virtues of detective.
Right. Yeah, I've been in it a bit.
The polite way of putting it. Well, there you go. However, now it's rare that you could go a week without turning on the TV and seeing a news article about metal detecting. The Detectorists, which was a mainstream TV program, not aimed at detectorists themselves. It's a lot more mainstream now. It's a lot more accepted. It's not so anorak-y. So, yeah, I think that's really, really helped.
Yeah, I've been at it a bit, and I agree with you. It's more, people don't look at you so crazy now, and your friends don't tease you and stuff, and
well, I won't go that far. Maybe not quite as much.
Right, exactly, yeah, exactly. But it has grown, and I think it's people are getting. You've been at it a long time. I am sure at some point somebody asked you, "What is that? A Geiger counter?" Well, I haven't had that question in several years, and people now, at least here, are starting to, people that don't even metal detect are starting to recognize what you're doing. I've noticed.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Harry from my detect earlier, and he goes to the gym, and we were just talking generally about kind of this sort of subject, and he was saying a lot of the real professional bodybuilders were actually interested in talking to him about the Roman coins he was finding and that sort of thing, which, I mean, it's just hard to get your head around, I suppose, that it has become that mainstream.
Yeah, it has. You're right. I've noticed, I am so passionate about the hobby. I will talk about it to anybody that'll listen. And it's amazing to me when I start talking about it, people start asking questions and want to know more. And, I like that. You're right. It's definitely became more mainstream. It's not the old man with the black socks pulled up to his knees out beach hunting,
Totally.
Right.
And I've seen that change and it's not a huge amount of time, really, in real terms. I mean, over the last 20 years that's happened, and yeah, I think it's really great.
Yeah, me too. Now I've got a question for you, and kind of putting you on the spot. Well, I'll tell you my feeling on it, and I'm kind of curious. Maybe with what you do, you'll have an answer or something. I don't have anything against the Ace line of metal detectors, but I've always felt that there's better detectors in that same price range. So maybe I won't ask you what you think, but why do you think they got so popular?
I think two things. So first of all, the price point. It gives a way of getting into the hobby without spending astronomical amounts of money, but buying a machine that performs very well. On the whole, they're super reliable. You get a 2-year UK warranty. So all of those things stack up. And more so now, if you go on if you do a Google search, beginner's metal detector, because of the amount of Aces that have now sold, it would always pop up and always be recommended. So that certainly helps with traction. But I think the price points at is spot on for people getting into the hobby. It performs very well. If I had less than £200 to spend, I'd happily use an Ace 250. And I said exactly that to Aaron, South Coast Detecting, I met up with earlier on today. And we had this same conversation. And I'd happily use an Ace 250 if I had less than £200 to spend. It is a good machine for the money. So, yeah, I mean, that's why it's just, it's at the right price.
I think those bell tones is what has always gotten me. I know people find, I mean, they are, you're right. They aren't bad machines for the money, but I think now, especially that there's some other detectors out there in that price range that I personally would prefer. And I've just always felt like the Ace line was way bigger than it ever should have been. I don't know. And believe me, I love Garrett. I think Garrett, and I would bet you would agree with me, coming out with the AT series, I mean, just absolutely changed the hobby. I think they should get a lot of the credit for the popularity of the hobby because, I mean, I have to say, before the AT Pro, I felt like you had to here and for certain kinds of hunting, especially here coin hunting at, parks, schools, and houses, if you really wanted to be a serious coin hunter and find the old coins, you had to, and be really successful, you had to spend over $1,000. And the AT Pro came out, and wow, did that change everything. Probably field hunting over. I know you guys like to hunt the fields way more, and although we have that here, we also have a lot of people looking for older silver coins at places, and the AT line just really changed that. I mean, do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, no, I would do, and I think the AT Pro was kind of the starter of a serious machine in that mid-range price point. So you had the Garrett Ace that covered the beginners. You had the higher end, like the E-Trax, the Explorers, that covered that end of the market. But the middle part of the market, okay, you had like the Xterra range and machines like that, a few of the whites. But yeah, the middle range, the AT Pro kind of were the first ones to really nail it, if you like, to come out with that real performance machine at that sort of price point. Go
ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, now you see that middle range price point being the real bit where all the manufacturers are fighting over, with the Equinox, the Cruiser, the Amphibio, the Technex T2, Fisher F75. It's now probably the busiest part of the market. So yeah, it's kind of changed in that respect.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The AT line did that. They created that. Like, whoa, we don't have to spend $1,000, $1,500 now to get some serious performance. And, I see some people, I mean, I think it's pretty rare, but I just got into an argument I'll say a friendly debate with a guy a few weeks ago that hates the AT Pro. He was trashing. I'm like, how can you trash? I mean, that's why we've got the Equinox right now. That's why we have the multi-cruiser and stuff. Whether you like it or not, you should at least respect what they've done and how they've changed the market. At the time, when the AT Pro came out, I had an E-Track. I know that detector in and out. I could write a book on it. I probably still could. Without one in front of me, I could run through the menu and how to set it up and everything. And I'll never forget the AT Pro coming out and some of my friends buying them and using them. And I didn't, of course, when something's first released, we don't know how good it is. It blew me away. The AT Pro could find, a friend. I got a friend into the hobby. He's brand new to the hobby. We're doing a strip between the road and the sidewalk. It's mid 1800s. It's really trashy. So I follow him and I say, I'm going to follow you just to check you and see if you miss anything. And I'll never forget one of the first targets that to compare to, he'd missed a deep good signal. And I just assumed the AT Pro couldn't get it. I was barely squeaking it out with the E-Track. And I said, hey, come back here. I want to see if you can hit this or if you were just, he's brand new to it. I mean, brand new. And he turned around and the AT Pro hit it. And it was a little token about 8 inches deep with iron and other targets all around it. I mean, you could move a half an inch up. One of those that you could move a half an inch off of it and lose it. And the AT Pro picked it up. And I think they really... I agree with you 100%. They changed they brought these, I think, and I could be totally wrong, but I think the CTX is a great detector, but I would suspect that the AT Pro really put a hurting on even the sales of the CTX, because people at that time are like, well, why do I want to spend $1,000, $2,000, $2,500 when everybody's having such great success with this $500 detector?
Yeah, possibly so. I think the CTX, it's a hard one to compare it against because they are such different machines. But I understand what you're saying. They did give that option in the middle price point to get a capable machine for that sort of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't compare the AT Pro to the CTX. I'm just saying, I think that was the start of like, oh, I don't need to spend all this money. Look at this in the $500 price range. And I think people were starting to change now and look at it a little different. And a lot of us couldn't afford $2,500. So they're like, well, I'm going to try, everybody's having success with this $500 detector. I just mean, in no way am I comparing them, but I think I would suspect it might have hurt sales a little bit.
Possibly so, because it would have done just because there was that option. Yeah, possibly so.
So, Dave, are you still there?
Of course, I'm still here. I'm listening to everything.
I'm sorry, I kind of took over. I know you can hear Randy, and I've got a 9-month-old son, and he is very vocal, and I just had to get in here and talk to you a little bit about that. And, so, is business good? I have to. Well, if you're doing better than last year, right?
Yeah, no, it is good. Yeah, we're doing okay. I pay the bills every month.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, I know I asked some oddball questions and stuff, but I would be really curious. Do you have any really funny customer stories you can relate to us?
I've got lots of funny customer stories, but I wouldn't want to relate them to you.
There's nothing you can share with us? Nothing?
I'll give you the generic ones. So
yeah, give me generic ones. I understand.
So we get a lot of what, I suppose because we see it all day, we might see these as stupid things that we see. So our number one return is Garrett Pro Pointer. So anyone that's got a Garrett Pro Pointer, will know the sound of when your pointer starts going, no, 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 no. You would be so surprised how many Garrett Pro pointers we get sent back that are faulty due to it making this noise because the battery's flat. We get... You'll be so surprised how many of those we get. There's lots of daft questions, but I won't go into them because do you know what? A daft question is only daft if you know the answer. And yeah, we've got a few strange customers, and stories that are related to them, but. Yeah, I don't really want to go into details because I don't think it's professional. But
no, I understand. I didn't expect anything but some generic ones. You couldn't know, of course, not calling anybody out or anything. But I was a dealer myself for 8 years, and now I've hooked up with a big dealer out of Virginia again, and selling detectors again, which I missed. I love, and I'm sure you will agree, 99.9% of your customers are just awesome.
Totally.
And they're so fun to talk with and stuff. But you will get those ones that just, I'll give one. I had a guy he was a thorn in my side the second he called me. I sold him a CTX. I took him out metal detecting to show him how it worked and everything. And he had to have it that day. He had to have me show him that day, and he was almost 2 hours away. I met him halfway, and it was almost dark. I got to spend like an hour with him, and I said, hey, if you got any questions or anything, just get a hold of me. That guy would call me 3-4 times a week, and for a year. He always wanted me to drive up to him and show him how to use it. And, just hours every week, 2-3 times a week. And, but that was like the only one, I've made so many friends in this hobby from selling detectors and people that I get to meet and hang out with and talk to. And I love that about this.
And I totally agree with that, Mike, that, yes, we've got customers, but a lot of those customers have become friends who I see outside of work, and that's the great part of the job, really.
Yes, I agree. I got back into sales because I missed that more than anything, and getting to talk to people, and I love helping people with their detector. I've used it. I'm sorry, guys. Is Randy too loud? Is he coming in through the headphones loud?
We can bear with it, Mike. It's fine.
I apologize.
That's all right.
But I've just met so many great people, and I get to talk to people and meet new people, and I love that about it. And that's why that's the reason I wanted to get back into it. But I love helping people, and I like to use a lot of different detectors and learn the technology and stuff. And when I started out, we didn't have the internet. It was really hard. You had to learn the hard way. So many people don't understand, what it was like before the internet, but it was way more difficult. And, now there's a lot of misinformation on detectors on the internet and stuff, but there's a lot of good information, but I love to be able to take, time off of that learning curve and, literally take people out and show them and how the detector works and how to set it up for different situations and stuff. And I don't know. I think I've enjoyed that more than anything when it came to selling and stuff. Being able to help.
I totally agree. Totally agree with you, Mike.
That's great. Dave, I'm going to have to give it back over to you. I apologize for Randy. I'll still be listening though. You got this,
you worry
Dave.
about it.
You got this.
So before you gave mention to Harry, also known as iDetect, he's one of the hobby's top YouTubers. How did your friendship develop and come about?
Okay, so Harry iDetect, for anyone that doesn't know Harry or haven't seen his videos, he's the nicest guy. First of all, I'll get that out there. He's a little bit dopey at times. but he's a nice guy. So what happened? It was a couple of years ago now. YouTube kind of missed me a little bit. I kind of watched the odd YouTube video, but didn't really see the potential and kind of where YouTube was going. I trawled through YouTube and looked at a few different channels and saw Harry pop up. He was on about 4,500 subscribers back then. I sent him a message and said, look, Harry, I'd like to meet up, have a drink. Just like to have a chat with you, see what your channel's about, all that sort of stuff. I could see some potential in him. And that's what we've done. I drove down to Winchester. We grabbed a Costa and kind of just got on, really, as mates. And yes, okay, we sponsor his channel, and I've been out with him today. We actually broke his drone today, but you'll see that on his channel. But he's such a nice guy. And following on from what I've done with Harry, there's a lot of YouTubers that, well, not a lot, but there's quite a few YouTubers that we work with now. And not just work with, that we get on really well with. So Grim Bleeper, Stephen Pettican, Sid's Detecting, Aaron down at South Coast Detecting, who I met up with today. I don't want to miss anyone out. There's so many that we deal with. Gareth, Drastic G, that you had on a couple of weeks ago. There's so many good guys out in the hobby, representing the hobby on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Harry's a great guy. Got so much time for him. I feel a bit like his carer some days. He is that sort of age, but no, he's a top guy. I've got a lot of time for him. Like I said, I was out with him today, back out with him again tomorrow. So yeah, we just get on really well. He is like a big kid, and to be honest, I am a little bit as well at times. So we get on really well. He's cool.
Yeah, I met him for the first time at Detectable.
Of course you did. Yeah.
And he jumped on the the 10-minute broadcast of of All Metal Mode. He jumped on that, which was supposed to be for a few minutes. I think he was on there for about half an hour in the end.
Oh, yeah, he does like to talk. But I mean, this is the other thing that I'll say to anyone about YouTubers. So sometimes YouTubers, on Facebook in particular, get a really tough time off some of the people in the hobby that they're just in it for themselves and this and that and the other. Do you know what? Every single YouTuber that I've ever met and spoken to have A, been the nicest people, couldn't say a bad word about them. Secondly, they're doing a really good job at representing the hobby. Now, okay, some of them might be laughing and joking, being a bit of a clown on video, but do you know what? That's part of the hobby, being out there enjoying yourself.
That's real life.
Totally, 100%. How many times are you out with your mates and someone finds a hammered and you go and do a stupid hammy dance and that sort of thing? How many times are you out with your mates and one of you digs a 2-foot hole and there's a horseshoe at the bottom and you give them a ribbon? That's all it is. It's just showing a side of the hobby. And yeah, I find it really tough when a YouTuber gets a bit of a kicking on Facebook, because they do work damn hard. And the other misconception that I really want to get out there about YouTubers is people have this misconception that they're making a fortune on YouTube. I can categorically 100% tell anyone that's listening, YouTube is not the way to make a living. The reward for the amount of time and effort they get for making these videos is scandalous, really. It's just not an income stream. They're doing it through the love of doing it, not to make money off it.
I agree. I mean, I know a few YouTubers myself, John Webb, Digger Dawn. John Webb was around here the other week. Him and Mandy, his partner, had a brew. We had a chat. You know, nicest person. Digger Dawn, love her to bits. I wouldn't have a bad word said against Dawn. She's got her own way of being, and that's Dawn in real life. If you take the camera off Dawn, she's exactly the same in real life.
Totally.
Wonderful people. So I can wholeheartedly concur with you there.
just want to say, I don't know if we talked about it on the UK show or it was the US show, but I always am just blown away that I'll watch a YouTube video and I'm like, oh my God, that was so awesome. And wow, some great finds, some great, just it's an awesome video. It's well shot. It's, and then there's like 13 thumbs down. And I'm like, what are these people? I mean, what are they thinking and how rude? I think that comes along with social media and the internet. But, like I've said, I've never given anybody a thumbs down, and I've watched some videos I didn't much care for. I don't like when they I don't like the clickbait stuff, like watch me find a treasure hoard and it's not, and different things like that. But I still don't thumbs down it, hey, whatever. But I will give a thumbs up, to the ones that I especially think were done really nice. But, I think you're always going to have that. We have the politics in this, and that's the part I hate. There are so many good people in this hobby, but there are those that I think, some are jealous, some have nothing better to do, but you got to wonder why.
Do you know, Mike, that the funny thing about YouTube thumbs down in a video on YouTube, I think the people that thumbs down it are particularly stupid, because if you thumbs down a YouTube video, it actually helps the analytics on YouTube because it counts as an interaction. Whether you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to YouTube, it's exactly the same thing. So by giving a thumbs down, you're actually helping the video. So YouTubers don't mind thumbs down. It helps their interaction and it helps with the YouTube analytics.
Now, can I just jump in and remind listeners that tonight we have, kindly donated by Pete from Leisure Promotions, £100 worth of vouchers. Now, all you have to do, this is UK and US listeners, is to comment on the Spreaker chat room, hashtag LP and your name. Now, I'm going to give this a 9:30 calling, and hopefully Luke will be able to go live on the All Metal Mode Podcast UK page or on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine Facebook page with a live video of the random name generator. Hopefully I'll have all the names in place by then, and we'll be good to go. Now, I also, while you're here, Mike, I'm getting prompted by Luke, before we go any further, to ask Peter about Don't Tell the Bride.
So, I kept this on the real down low, and I'll tell you for why. It's not a program that I watch. I wanted to see, when that went out on TV, how many detectorists sit there and watch Don't Tell the Bride. And I only saw 2 people on Facebook mention it. So I think that's pretty good. But yeah, I deliberately kept that particular TV appearance quiet, just so I could see how many people watch it on the slide.
Now, just for Mike, Don't Tell the Bride in the UK is a programme where a couple getting married, the wife hands over all control of the wedding from start to finish over a 2-week period, and they're giving her about £10,000 for the male to go and blow on the wedding, and not just the stag night. So that's briefly what that is, Mike.
That sounds brilliant. No,
so
not really.
On,
I rarely watch TV to begin with. What I was going to say is...
Oh, hold on, Mike. We haven't finished yet. We haven't heard about his TV appearance.
Okay.
So the background on this is the groom was planning a historical wedding. He loved dinosaurs when he was a kid. I mean, to be honest, it was a really tacky wedding. But anyway, for the hen do, what he done was loaded the hen party onto a minibus, drove them into Blackpool. Mike, Blackpool is a very down market Vegas, just so you can picture it.
Okay.
They all tipped up, and it was quite funny on the show. The cameraman's in there, and they legitimately do not know what's going on. And they said, "Oh, God, I hope we're not going to Blackpool." Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, turn up in Blackpool, come down to the beach, come round the corner, and there's me and Rigby from the NCMD on the beach there to give them a couple of hours of metal detecting on the beach, and you can imagine how that went down. Long story short, the whole point of this was that the groom had buried her wedding invitation on the beach in the hope that she would then find it. Now, it got a bit touch and go, to be honest. The whole hen party did not want to be metal detecting. They wanted to be out on the lash, basically. So after a bit of coaxing, we managed to get her to find it. So they were a really nice couple, to be fair, but that's where my involvement in Don't Tell the Bride came about.
Luke, or I'm sure Luke's still listening, or Dave, you got to send me a link to that. I've got to see that.
We'll find it.
I've got to see that. I just wanted to say real quick, being here in the United States, one of the reasons I wanted to do this show is I love what's going on over there, but I knew very little of what was going on over there before doing this podcast, and excuse me, but I had heard of Leisure Productions, and I've only heard good, and I think that's saying something to hear about you over here. Give us the ways to contact you. I'm sure you got Facebook and your website and all that. Can we put that out there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, our website, everything is LP Metal Detecting. So website, lpmetaldetecting.com. We're on Facebook, LP Metal Detecting, Instagram. Yeah, I mean, just Google us, really. LP Metal Detecting, you'll find us.
Yeah. Okay,
we're out
fair
there.
enough. Fair enough. Okay, good deal. I'm going to go do that right now. I've got to go do that right now. I'm going to add you on Facebook.
Thank you very much, Mike.
And we'll get it on our Facebook page.
So I'm going to jump in again while he's doing that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You've had a busy few months, and you've got a very, very busy month coming ahead, no doubt. Obviously, firstly, Detectivals. And did you go to Detector World as well?
Yeah, we were over at Detector World. Yeah, not this one, not in a trade capacity. I didn't take LP stand or anything. 11 of us went over on a minibus to Holland for a weekend.
Marvellous.
I
mean, I was at Detectival and I was gobsmacked. I know it's about, was it the fourth or the fifth time that Detectivals took place?
Detectival, officially as Detectival, this was the second. However, 3 years ago, it's called the XP Gold Rally.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It
was the first. Well, it's the first big event I've been to, and I was blown away. The camaraderie, the metal detecting, the people, the excitement, the build up to things, the after day parties. It was fantastic, and I couldn't believe the amount of people that who I knew either. From the guys at Team of Yorkshire, which I'll segue again onto that. The Team of Yorkshire are a fully Polish and similar area metal detecting group based in the UK, and they do a hell of a lot in the UK for the subject. And I've been lucky enough tonight to actually publish the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine's first dual language article on behalf of the Team of Yorkshire, and it's about a 1,000-year-old hoard that's been found in Poland. Fascinating hoard. They were looking for the battle site of King Pius II and the Mongolian army, and they've found that. And I'm also lucky enough to have been invited over to Poland next year to actively take part in an archaeological excavation. Mrs. Sadler's already given me permission, so I'm okay there. So that was a good segue just to mention the Team of Yorkshire there anyway. So, and I met them at Detectival. So, it's been a fascinating year for myself in relation to that. And obviously, I met yourself, Pete. I know we were both rushed to a degree because you were mad busy the entire event. Which is nice, of course.
Yeah. I slept well when I got back.
I didn't. I had to get up for work at 4:30 the next morning. I didn't get home till about 6 o'clock on the Sunday night. So, but it was all good. It was all good.
Yeah.
So, in the run up to Christmas, is there any offers of consequence that LP will be running that you can give mention to at the moment?
So again, I was talking to someone about this earlier on, and I can honestly say I do not know. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that, because so Black Friday, next Friday, we get asked this time of year, are you doing anything for Black Friday? Are you doing anything? We make a decision on if we're doing something for Black Friday Thursday night. And the reason we do that is I would not feel comfortable selling a machine to someone today if I knew there was a better deal coming next Friday. We do not know, and that is God's honest truth. Now, in terms of manufacturer offers, there's some great deals coming up for the Christmas period, and I can tell you all about these because they're already out there. So XP, if you buy a full Deus, so remote and WS4 or WS5 headphones, you can also buy an MI6 pointer to go with it for £19. I mean, that pointer is worth 170, I think, from memory, 160 maybe. So that's a great saving on XP Deus. The XP Oryx is coming out next week or so. It's not far away now, by the end of the month. If you pre-order that with LP, at the minute we're giving you a set of Quest HD headphones worth £100. So that's another offer. What else we got from MindLab? They do a Christmas promotion most years. So this year you buy GoFind 66 and you get a MindLab fines pouch and a carry bag included free of charge, and there's other offers. So CTX, you get a 17-inch coil worth £300 included. Check out our website for all of that. And then Nocta Macro. Now, they are doing a Black Friday deal, so this promotion does start Black Friday and goes through to the end of December. So I need to try to remember these off the top of my head now. So if you buy a Nocta Impact, you get... No, sorry. If you buy a Macro Racer 2, either Pro or Standard Pack, you get a Nocta pointer included free of charge. If you buy a Nocta Impact, you get a set of wireless headphones and a Nocta Macro baseball cap free of charge. If you buy a Cruiser, Standard or Pro Pack, no, sorry, Cruiser comes in Standard or the multi-frequency version. You get a pointer, a cap, and the new Nocta Macro Standard Digger included as well. So, I mean, there's other deals, and I'm sure there'll be other stuff coming on board, but they're the ones that I think off the top of my head at the minute. Marvelous. But lots more to come, I'm sure.
Now, I can also jump in and say that the live draw is currently taking place over on the All Metal Mode UK podcast. Actually, I see Laura's legs at the moment. Nothing to do with that. So if you can click over on the side screen onto All Metal Mode Podcast UK, you'll see Luke's fingers tapping away quite merrily, and Laura's legs occasionally, and the draw with that. So we'll continue chatting while Luke's prepping the program. What's next for yourself and LP, Pete? Is there anything in the future that you can discuss generally?
Yeah, I mean, so in general terms, we just want to keep doing what we're doing, which is just giving our customers what we want at the right price when they want it, really, is just the basics of running a business, and we'll carry on doing that. There is one bit of news which I can share, which I haven't told you about. There's only, that I can think of, 5 people that know about this. So, as you know, in the UK, there's not that many dealers. So there's a lot of places in the country where it's really hard to go and visit a dealer and see the product, touch it, feel it. So with that in mind, in the next few weeks, we'll be opening up a second showroom in Wales. So currently, there's no showroom in Wales. We've got so many customers over in Wales that either make the journey along the M4 over the bridge down to us, or just buy online. And there's an opportunity that's come up to work with someone that I know very well. So tomorrow I'm over to Wales just to measure a few last bits up to get some shop fittings in there. So all being well, 2-3 weeks, that would be doors open, ready to invite customers into. So that's something that I can tell you that is well, exclusive, I suppose.
Oh, whereabouts in Wales is that?
So the town is called Tredegar. It's just on the south of Brecon, just to the south of Brecon. Basically, it's within an hour's drive of Swansea, Cardiff, and Newport. So it's a great location for anyone. Rather than being close to Swansea but miles away from Newport and whatever, it's within an hour's drive of all those places. So yeah, really nice part of the world, and I've enjoyed. Well, I don't know if I've enjoyed paying to go over the bridge to go and see Wales, but that's another plus point. In December, it's free for English people to visit Wales over the Severn Bridge. They're doing away with the toll. Yeah, there you go.
There's a bonus. Now we have a winner.
Perfect.
I think Mr. Higgins has spelt his name incorrectly, and it's his name. He's put it as Marek Zakhero, but it's actually Marek Zakarko. I'll never pronounce his name wrong, and he's from Team of Yorkshire, which we mentioned earlier. So if Luke or myself, Luke will obviously communicate with myself, and we will put you in contact with Pete. And obviously you can deal with whatever needs doing with regards to vouchers. How's that sound, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely fine. And either we can ship the vouchers out, or if they've got something in mind to be spending it on, we can just ship whatever they want out, whichever they prefer. It's all good.
So again, thank you a hell of a lot for that. It's very kind of you to do that. I know you did something the other week as well when we done the Macro Nocta broadcast with D-Lex. So again, thank you for that, and obviously for supporting ourselves, because what some people may not realise is the copy of the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, the first copy, the paper version that we released at for Detectable, as well as Regs, and you were heavily involved with the helping us put that together. So again, I publicly thank you for that as well.
That's okay. It's our pleasure, and yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's something really different that the hobby hasn't had before, with the online articles and the online presence. So no, just keep doing what you're doing.
Well, as I've said to other people before, don't you know this? It was a case of me being on the sick from work, and it helped me mentally to put something together. I've got a passion for both archaeology and metal detecting. I asked a few people what their thoughts of it was. They said go for it, and then people are still supporting me personally today, as well as the magazine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do know, I did text you one point this week just to let you know of one thing, that we had a bit of a big day.
I did see it. Yeah.
Since Sunday, the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine have had over 12,000 hits. We had 3,600 on Monday. We had 3,750 on Tuesday, which is our second biggest daily hit rate. 2,300 yesterday, and if I look currently on my Google Analytics, I'll be able to tell you it is currently at 1,637 for today. So we're actually having an astronomical week. Unfortunately, the start of this year, we lost our old server. It went down completely. We lost the website. I had to transfer to a totally different server, a rebuild from scratch. So it took us a good 6, 7, 8 months to get back to high figures. But again, thank you to everybody who follows, who supports the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine, and obviously yourself again, Pete, for giving mention to it here and there.
No, that's fine. It's our pleasure. Not a problem at all.
So yeah, we've had a pretty big week. That's 12,000 to me is, I was weighing myself with glee. I've not seen figures like that for quite some time, so me and Luke were both delighted with that. So you've sold us what's next for yourself and LP. It's exciting to find out you're opening a new store in South Wales, and any rallies that you have planned, or other big events, such like in the coming months. I know it's the wrong time of year for some people, but is there anything in plans or preparation at the moment?
No, so this time of year, as you say, it quietens down a bit in terms of the big rallies, the summer rallies. So we're back in the swing of doing our fortnightly dig. So we're out next weekend in Oxfordshire. That's a joint dig between us and the Metal Detectives, Mark and Karen and their team there. But otherwise, it's just getting ready for next year's adventures, of which we've already got some booked into the calendar. Not so much in the way of digs yet, but yeah, just things going on here and there. So yeah, it's just getting ready for 2019, really.
Well, I'm hoping for the Archaeology Metal Detecting magazine and the podcast All Metal Mode UK be able to represent ourselves more so in the future. I know Luke does in the South regions very regularly, but I've had a bit of a bummer of a year, so hopefully next year I'll be looking forward to participating myself more so as well. So hopefully I'll be able to see it at some of them occasions.
Yeah, absolutely. Come along, get out, come and enjoy the fun.
With all honesty, it's been 18 months since I physically metal detected about that much of a bad year. Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait. I've got a brand new machine in the box to pick up, put together, and trial, which I really need to do. I did start doing some magnet fishing, so my little lad could get involved a bit more. A lot of help from Gareth Breyer. We've become quite good friends through the magnet fishing we mentioned earlier. So yeah, the next year I want to be doing what I need to be doing, and that's being out and about. So, and again, everybody who invites me to places and whatnot, I do hope to be able to get along there. Oh, and Gary Cook's just asked to thank you for him personally for the help with the rally that he held last month, and obviously for everything you did for him there. Fantastic cause.
Yeah, and can I just mention that particular rally, Dave?
Certainly.
Because, I mean, there's some things in the hobby that archaeologists and the outside world give us a bit of stick for. Now, this particular rally, and Gary won't mind me going on about it because he goes on about it all the blooming time. So this was the weekend after Detectival. His dad unfortunately passed away last year to cancer, and he wanted to do something to remember his dad and raise some funds for a new cancer care unit that's being opened up here in England. So he set about organising this rally. I'm trying to think how many detectorists were there now. A good amount, let's say 300, 400, 500. I really can't remember now. But he got in contact with all the dealers, all the manufacturers, got stack loads of rally prizes. Now, this rally was purely run at absolute zero profit. So the farmer gave up his land, all of the marshals, everyone gave up their time and everything free of charge. And in total, he raised over £27,000 for that cancer care charity. I cannot say enough good things about Gary and the work that he done for that rally, because it's astronomical that someone can raise that amount of money. But not just Gary, the whole detecting community that came together that weekend and really, really got behind him and supported it. So big shout out to Gary if you're still listening. You're a top guy.
Fair play, fair play. I met him at Detectival 2 for the first time.
Yeah, he talks, doesn't he? Can't shut him up.
I'm not like that myself when you get me started. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up the show now. Again,
Absolutely.
Thanks to everybody who's listened. Thanks to yourself, Pete, for coming along and obviously donating the vouchers. To
Kevin.
I forgot his name. Kev Marchese. I'm getting tired. I'm reading somebody else's name on the screen at the same time. Kev Marchese for coming on and talking about the Amphibio. For Luke in the background and for obviously his support all the time. And to Mike as well. Now, next week, hopefully, we will be looking forward to being joined by Mark Hambleton. Mark was one of the duo who discovered the Leek Frith Gold Torque Hoard in Leek in Staffordshire in December 2016. Now, I was very, very fortunate to go along to a talk with the archaeologist who was on site and excavated the site, and Mark last week, and I put a video up on our YouTube, which was basically a brief interview myself with him. Obviously, I didn't want to take up too much of his time, but hopefully, if he can get Skype sorted, because he said he's only just getting to grip with Facebook, never mind anything else. So hopefully next week we'll have Mark Hambleton as a guest. So again, I've heard the talk, and I can assure all the listeners the discussion about that will be quite marvelous to listen to. So again, thanks, Pete, for tonight. It's been a pleasure.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and keep doing what you're doing, guys. Podcast's an awesome idea. It's all good.
Well, that's Mike's baby. I'm just here because he's got Randy to look after.
Well, indeed.
Let's give him a call. Oh, Michael, are you there? Michael, Mr. Hare, hello.
Guys, I'm listening
Here he
in.
is.
I'm just Randy is being wild. Dave, you're selling yourself short. I couldn't do the show without you. And then I want to give a big thanks to Luke. You know, he is behind the scenes constantly helping us out and doing things. And guys, I couldn't do the show without you. You have no idea how much I appreciate it.
Well, no thanks to me, honestly. I enjoy doing it. I'm learning so much more about the subject myself. You know, I'm a complete novice when it comes to technology with metal detectors and that. So I'm learning loads. I'm learning lots about people. I'm meeting more people, and I'm enjoying it thoroughly. So thank you.
I'm very happy. That makes me really happy you're enjoying it. That's important, and I'm glad. And it's really shown to me, like the first couple weeks, I felt like you really just kind of fell in love with it, and that's great. I'm so happy you enjoy it, because that's what it's about. We do this for fun.
We certainly do.
We certainly do. Okay, guys, I'm ready to wrap it up whenever you're. Randy is crazy. Crazy.
It's all right, Randy. Mum will be here next week, son.
Yeah, exactly. Thank goodness.
You take care anyway, Mike. And thanks again, Peter.
Yep, you
No
too.
worries.
And Pete, it was great having you on. I apologize for the circumstances, but I did listen in to 99% of it, and it was great.
That's fine.
Great to have you
We've all
on.
had young children. We know how that works.
Yeah, good times. All right, good night, guys. Thank you so much,
night.
Pete.
See ya.
Thanks, all. Good night.